Good day, class. Today we'll be discussing the first three chapters of Stephen King and Peter Straub's novel Black House. We'll go through some of the main characters, some of the preliminary setting of the book, and the small town where it takes place, and some of the key plot points that set up the backstory of the book that happened before the text actually starts. It's important to examine the backstory because this helps kind of establish the characters, the main conflict in the story, as well as how this will impact the rest of the timeline and characters throughout the rest of the text. So first thing is I'll just go through read off based on some of the pages I've marked in my text. My copy is an older hard copy edition, so your paperbacks, if the pages don't match, I apologize. I'll just let you know when I've gone to a next chapter, so at least then you know which chapter in at any time. So you can find these sections if you want to note them on your own as we go through them. And now as we go through the book, try and think about what kind of overall changes we see in the central characters. Oh, one second. First thing we're going to look at is on page 12 and 13. So one of the earliest scenes in the police station in the small town of Franchling, Wisconsin, where the story takes place. And this is where we get to see some of the main characters who learn about the small police department currently dealing with the serial killer and rash of children being kidnapped in the small town. We know that a local biker gang called the Thunder Five, led by Beezer St. Pierre, had recently harassed the officers the night before, demanding for answers or be deputized to help them in their investigation. So it shows the public pressure is mounting as the story takes place for these crimes that have happened in the recent weeks before the story begins. And also shows that there's this contentious relationship between the police and the community who demands or wants to help in some way or expects them to solve and stop this. Then page 14 gives more description of the crimes, series of cannibal murders, and this really highlights the various taboos these crimes cross publicly, happening to children, cannibalism, the taking of children who seem to have no direct reason why they'd be targeted aside from them being children. All this adds to why these crimes are especially disturbing to the characters in the book, and also why they'd be disturbing to readers as well. This also shows some of the larger community problems this causes. Page 15 points out two different people, a local farm laborer and a local tourist, were beaten by vigilantes, accused of being suspects of the crimes. This also shows how when public fear increases, oftentimes outsiders, either economically or ethnically, can be targeted as well. This whole idea about how do you really know who someone is, and how you treat strangers versus people you know or think you know. So it establishes this idea of how we define community and how communities are changed by crime early on in the text. Then it goes into page 17. We meet one of the other supporting characters, Chipper Maxton, who's the director of an elder care facility in the town. We learn he has a history of running this small business that he took over from his father, that points out some examples of how he has a history of greed, of being a thief as well. Middle of page 17 says, 5 years with the IRS taught him much that was useful. When his subsequent career as a freelancer failed to match his ambitions, he yielded to his father's increasingly frail entreaties and threw his lot in with the undead and the droolies. Certain grim relish, Chipper acknowledged that despite a woeful shortage of glamour, his father's business would at least provide him with the opportunity to steal from the clients and government alike. So it kind of highlights Chippy's nature as a character, one with a history of immoral behavior, of derogatory or discrimination towards the elderly patients he takes advantage of, as well as their families and the government in general. So it shows the various ways he steals from or exploits institutions and people all around him, and establishes him as one of the villains early on in the text. And it goes into page 19, and this really kind of highlights how, and a key point that kind of shows more about his character is page 19, where it says that Chipper Maxton is 42 years old. He has good teeth, all his hair, a wide, sincere face, and narrow brown eyes that always look a little damp. He also has 2 kids, Trey 9 and Ashley 7, recently diagnosed with ADD, a master A mattered Chipper figures are going to cost him about $2,000 a year in pills alone. And of course, he has a wife, his life's partner, Marion, 39 years of age, 5'5", somewhere in the neighborhood of 190 pounds. In addition to their blessings, as of last night, Chipper owes his bookie $13,000, result of an unwise investment in the Brewers game. George Rathburn is still bellowing about. He has noticed, oh yeah, he has. Chipper has noticed Miss Fille's splendidly cantilevered legs. So this kind of highlights also other vices that Chipper has, in this case, illegal gambling. And also ties into where a lot of his extra money he steals goes towards. And also shows how he sees his own family and wife, largely as a burden, and largely just in terms of surface details, no real interiority to them. And so the way they're described from his point of view really highlights his character, and how he sees others as tools or burdens to get what he wants. All right, that ends chapter 1. And now we go into chapter 2. Turn then to page 26. And this gives us more detail on one of the other characters we get to meet early in the book. Is the second full paragraph on page 26. Here's a true American loner, an internal vagrant, a creature of shabby rooms and cheap diners, of aimless journeys resentfully taken, a collector of wounds and injuries lovingly fingered and refingered. Here is a spy with no cause higher than himself. Bernie's real name is Carl Bierstone. Under this name he conducted in Chicago, from his mid-20s until the age of 46, a secret rampage, an unofficial war, during which he committed wretched deeds for the sake of the pleasure they afforded him. Carl Bierstone is Bernie's great secret, for he cannot allow anyone to know that its former incarnation, this earlier self, still lives inside his skin. Carl Bierstone's awful pleasures, his foul toys, are also Bernie's. He must keep them hidden in the darkness, where only he can find them. So this shows more about his character. It already establishes that Bernie has a secret, that he hides his criminal history, guilty of these terrible crimes, and they're not described here. We didn't know he has a guilty past, enough so that he's created this new identity and living in secret in this town, in this rest home. And this idea then also of the theme of appearances versus reality, how you see things versus what they actually are, and how Bernie is very good at appearing largely having no sense of awareness due to his Alzheimer's, largely appearing as the kind of stereotype elderly patient that Chippy is prejudiced against in the facility. This allows him the great cover because no one would suspect him of anything more, because he doesn't really shows any of his true self that comes out. So it really highlights his character. There's a lot of depth to him, and also he's incredibly dangerous. And similar to Chipper, sees people more as objects to be used, rather than having any kind of genuine, actual compassion towards them. All right, then we go forward to page 35. And this gives us more from the narrator's perspective. And this is one thing that happens throughout the book, is the narrator will come into the book and almost speak like a character who will guide us through from different place to place around the town. And it is distracting at first. It comes up less so overall, and only periodically in the text. More so as a way to kind of guide the story and provide commentary when we're not following one character at a time. Since there's a lot of major minor characters that come in and out of the storyline, this kind of gives us a guideline in terms of point of view to follow, since we're not with one character the whole time in the book. This also highlights then how the setting's used to really add a sense of horror or decay in the book as well, since it describes the abandoned fast food place, had a history of being unclean and dangerous to eat at when it was still in operation, and now is a burned out husk of a building. And this is where the body of Irma Furnow, the most recent victims, is waiting to be found by the police. So this foreshadows also what's to come, this crime scene which will be eventually revealed, and also this killer then wants his crimes to be known. And so it really shows how the killer, even though we don't know for sure who it is starting to develop more of a sense of a character through their actions. And this is common in some stories where it's uncertain who the characters really are, or the identity of one of the characters. Their actions allow us to get to understand them, even if we don't know them by name, as we see here as well, with kind of very obvious crimes in very public places that these bodies are being left. And the fact that he's intentionally targeting children who will be missed, especially in a small town, the small population. So it kind of highlights this arrogance of the killer, how much he believes he can get away with this. Continue to. It goes on to page 39. And this also shows this idea then in the town of the contrast between the brutal crimes and the sense of the town being a peaceful place. And so it kind of shows one reason why the crimes are so horrific is this town's portrayed largely as a very stable place surrounded by nature, a small town community, largely stable in terms in general. And these crimes really brought the community and really brought out more tensions among people around them. So while it's by no means perfect, it really kind of hides this contrast between this peaceful setting, largely taking peace from nature, and the horrors of what people do to each other. And it really shows, again, this idea about how crime impacts not only the victims and their families, but also the community at large. One of the larger issues the book explores, and we get more of a sense of here early on in chapter 2. I apologize for my voice. I'm getting over a cold, so anything you can't understand, please refer again to the closed captions to help make sense of it. All right, then let's go to page 46. And this is one thing that also shows details which will come up more importantly later. Bottom of page 46, it says, "The sounds of French landing and awakening do not awaken Judy Marshall. Nope, she has been starry-eyed since 3. Conning the shadows from she doesn't know what. Fleeing dreams too horrible to remember. She does remember some things, little as she wants to." And one thing that's important here about when we meet Judy Marshall's character is the message she says from her nightmares. Saw the eye again, she remarks to the empty room. Says later it's the red eye, his eye, eye of the king. So while this at first doesn't really make any sense, and it seems bits and pieces of nightmare, it'll be more important later. And one thing you have to see in this book is how it lays out clues, that a lot of these answers are gradually revealed as the clues get pieced together over time. So if something doesn't make sense at first, then that's probably why it's just a clue building towards a larger outcome. So, and some of these clues will make more sense if you've read Stephen King books before or know anything about the Dark Tower series, but which I'll explain more later when that comes into the book later. But for right now, it shows like how King and Straub are laying out some of the clues and groundwork for the larger plot they're piecing together as the story unfolds. And another thing it goes into on page 47 shows more of Judy's kind of visions or what she hears in her head. Remembers the reference to a place called Black House. It's the doorway to somewhere else, some kind of hellish other world, a dangerous place. So it shows more about these, what she sees as just nightmares, give clues to what this place, the Black House, is, which you haven't met yet, or as a place. And also it's important, not just a dangerous place, but also some kind of larger part of this mystery that will somehow tie into the book. All right, then that brings us into chapter 3. Page 64. And this shows, this is from middle of the page, it says, Dale goes back to the table. Dale is one of the main police officers in town, the chief of police. Sips his coffee, puts his hand to his forehead and closes his eyes. In this moment, we can see precisely how frightened and miserable he is. Dale is just 42 and a man of tempestuous habits. But as the cruel morning light coming through the window by which he entered, he looks for the moment anyway, at least sickly 60. He is concerned about his job, knows that if the fellow who killed Amy and Johnny keeps it up, he will certainly be turned out of his office the following year. He's also concerned about Davy, although Davy isn't his chief concern. For all like Fred Marshall, he cannot actually concede the fisherman would take his and Sarah's own child. Nor does the other children of French Landing he is worried more about, possibly the children of Centralia and Arden as well. His worst fear is that he is simply not good enough to catch the son of a bitch. They will kill a third, a fourth, perhaps an 11th and 12th. God knows he has requested help and got in, sort of. 2 state police detectives assigned to the case. The FBI guy from Madison keeps checking in. informal basis, though. The FBI is not officially part of the investigation. So this really kind of highlights some of the obstacles that the police have against them trying to solve this case. We see for Dale's character, we get more of his motivations, that he's someone who believes in his job, his responsibility to the township, that he fears losing that job and responsibility, he's failing them by not stopping these crimes fast enough. His worst fears that these will go on into the dozens before it ends. And also it shows that while he does have help, which highlights his ability to seek out help when he needs it, it's not really being that fruitful. It's really going to highlight his idea of teamwork isn't really there, or not enough, to help him stop these crimes. It also shows his character as being someone who's truly believes in serving others and helping others, and doing what's right and what's good. So we're getting a sense of his character early on in reaction to these crimes. And this is one thing that I think the book does well, is it shows over time how characters react when facing terrible things. That becomes a testing point to make them, for better or for worse, to change somehow. And for Dale's character, small town cop who hasn't faced anything like this before, really get to see this as a test he's facing, that he doubts he can pass, but cannot refuse to quit either. And also it shows he does have personal stake in this because he has children himself, or a son, but also that he fears this idea of separation as well, this feeling that crimes out there apart from you, that can't happen to you personally. So it kind of shows this idea about community and how people can see things happen in the community, but they still feel them somehow they're safe from that, or apart from it. And that's possibly a flaw in Dale's part, of thinking he's safe from this, or that he's immune to becoming victimized, or his family being victimized by the same killer who's murdered three children so far. All right, let me go on. Page 68. And this goes into, again, referencing or foreshadowing, there's more kind of evil in town than just this one singular series of crimes. It's about on page 68. It says, "We have stayed here too long. We must take wing again and proceed to our final destination this early morning. We don't know everything yet, but we know 3 important things. First, that French Landing is a town in terrible distress. Second, that a few people, Judy Marshall for one, Charles Burnside for another, and understand on some deep level the town's ills go far beyond the depredations of a single sick pedophile murderer. Third, that we have met no one capable of consciously recognizing the force, the slippage that has now come to bear on this quiet town, hard by Tom and Huck's River. Each person we've met is in his own way as blind as Henry Leyden. This is a true of the folks we haven't so far encountered. These are St. Pierre, Wendell Green, and Color Posse, as it of those we have." So it really kind of highlights that some of the characters in the book have a sense of some larger, deeper evil at work here behind the scenes, more than just a series of murders, but also that others are blind to this. It's really going to highlight this idea about community facing evil, recognizing, being aware it's even there, and how to react to it. That's one thing this book kind of points out early on, is the idea these characters must face all this in some way. They can't just ignore it. That concludes chapter 3. Our next video will then go on through chapters, I think, 4 through 7. I'll post that soon after this one. If you have any questions about things I didn't cover, or questions about the book in general, please send me messages through the inbox, or you can contact and discuss it with your classmates as well. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Have a good day.